Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fresh Off the Set. My name is David Osmond, and I am so thrilled to have some really, really good friends in studio. In fact, one of my best buddies. He is the coolest dude you've ever met. He has the biggest heart, and he needs no introduction. Coach Mac, former University of Utah head coach Ron McBride, is here in studio with me, as well as Joanne Wells and MJ from the foundation, the Ron McBride Foundation, MJ Allen. You guys, thank you for helping run this. I'm excited to have you, Coach Mac, to be able to talk about your foundation. Thanks for coming into the podcast studio.
Absolutely. It's wonderful. And you look so good, David.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're always honestly, guys, Coach Mac calls me randomly every so often, every few weeks or every couple months, and just says, David, how you doing, buddy? You do it all right, my friend. And he means it. He cares about people so much. And I feel so honored that you would take time out of your day, anytime, any day, to be able to even ask about how I'm doing. You're just so kind and gracious and such a good friend. And I really appreciate you, Coach.
You're a good man, David.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nobody better.
Well, we all in our lifeboats, we're all in the same thing together, all of us fighting our own good fights.
Yeah.
But you see those fights from so many people. As head coach for University of Utah, Weber State, for your own career in football, you've really cared about kids in particular, the youth, and coming up through athletic programs.
Absolutely.
To the point where you started your own foundation, the Ron McBride Foundation. So let's start with the big picture. This is a program to help with after-school programs for kids, because I know in Utah there's almost 100,000 kids, 99,000 that go without any kind of a program after school, and then some problems can ensue. So can you give us a kind of a bird's eye view on the foundation, how it started, how long you've been doing this, and what the focus of the foundation is?
Well, it originally started probably maybe 12 years ago. And Lavelle Edwards and myself are actually the ones who started it. And we started out where we were gonna build some things. We built a library at one school. We did another book club thing at another school. And so we started out just doing little things that people needed. And then as we went along, then I got together with some of the principals and said, hey, what do you need?
Yeah.
And then Joanne and myself were in this from the very, very beginning. They said, we need something for our kids from 3 to 6 because we have no control over these kids once they leave school. We need something to keep them occupied, something where they can learn, something where they can progress, something where they can get food, take care of that area from 3 to 6. And so then we came up with MJ and Joanne and everybody with the after-school programs. And so it probably in the last 6 years, that's been our focus.
That's really cool. So, Joanne, from the beginning, you started as executive director helping Coach Mac get this foundation off the ground. How many years ago was that when you started this?
Actually, I have been with Coach Mac for 6 years, and we have seen this grown, David, every single year. The need is so tremendous. Kids that go home to an empty home, or in so many cases, are homeless. They suffer from isolation, food insecurity, and they get involved in gangs and drugs and suicides, and it's just a real problem for the state of Utah. And so every year we get more and more applications from schools. We've already started getting applications. They're Title I schools, and we try to help just as many as we can, and it has been so rewarding because each of our board members have adopted a school, and so they visit school, once a month, and we've really seen the progress in the kids, a sense of connectivity to something bigger than themselves. Friends, academically, they improve all through these after-school programs. And, of course, the key is coach. because he walks the halls of these after-school programs, and while the kids don't know who he is, they know he cares. And so he's like a rock star in these schools. They just gather around him and are just so excited that somebody would help them like this.
That's amazing to see how Coach Mack walks into a room, you just light it up. And then those that do know you, they're like your best friend, and it's legit. And to have these younger generations now, even though they may not know your history and career as football coach and everything else you've done in your career, to know that you care, I think that's a great key, Joanne.
Yes.
Because it takes that kind of a love and a heart, and then to get others involved. I know whenever Coach Mack makes that phone call, people jump. They just want to get involved. Previous footballers, players, they come in, they fly in from all over the place to be part of these events. Is that right?
It is tremendous. The kids the football players that he had, Coach has always had this affinity for underprivileged kids.
Yeah.
Kids that need help, and he helps turn their life around and expects them to give back. So when he makes that call, they go into the schools with us. They talk about their life. We had this one example that was just recent. The coach took 2 people in to this elementary school and talked to the kids, and both of the speakers grew up without a dad. And they talked about how hard it was and how they got in trouble. One of them went to prison for a while. They came back. They turned their life around with a lot of help from Coach Mack. And a little girl raised her hand and she said, "You are the first people I've met that I truly identify with. Thank you so much for coming to this school." And I mean, it's things like that if you get one child that you've touched like that, it's just tremendous. One little kid, we bought soccer cleats for the kids, and the teacher wrote back and said, one little boy said that's the first new pair of shoes he's ever had.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're touching the really impoverished area, and like you said, a lot of their parents have to work both jobs, so they can't be there after school through no fault of their own. But more and more do we have a problem with homelessness. We have one school, 21% of the kids are homeless.
No kidding.
And so for them, the after-school program is a lifesaver.
It's everything.
Yeah, it's everything.
It's unreal. I know that nearly 8,000 students are now being served through the Ron McBride Foundation and its programs. It's amazing. And the kind of feedback, the results that you're hearing from students and families and schools have been extremely positive.
Oh, so much so. So much so. They, the parents get involved. A lot of times it's interesting because we've learned a lot, Coach and I, from going to the schools in MJ, that kids wouldn't go to school. A lot of kids don't have a washer and dryer in their house. And so they wouldn't go to school because they had poor hygiene, or they'd go to school and they were made fun of. So at one school, we just took up a washer and dryer. And that was...
It's a game changer.
Yeah, it changed their life.
Wow.
Yeah.
You see a big need. And MJ, you've been involved in the foundation for a long time as events coordinator. What have you seen that has been the most impactful from your perspective?
Well, I think it's important for us to know that we partner with these schools. And these people are so innovative and creative with these after-school programs. It's more than just tutoring, and it's great to have soccer cleats, and it's great to have sports programs. But we have a school that actually came to us. They wanted money to buy a printing press so that they could make spirit wear so that their students could be proud of their school. But then along with that, they're learning this trade so that they then have kids that have a skill that they can walk out of school with. So it's really, the creativity, I think, is so impressive. And with all of the cuts in education funding, it's just paramount that we all, as a village, contribute to this. So we have all sorts of statistics where more kids are graduating I mean, super impressive.
Yeah.
Something like 85% increase in the number of kids that are graduating
Wow.
in one of our schools
That's
because
huge.
they did have, support in the 3 to 6 o'clock time frame where these kids could get additional math tutoring.
Yeah.
And, maybe our funds go toward paying a teacher that is going to stay and help the kids. They get to build a relationship with these people. It builds their confidence. And one of the things that I'm so proud of with this foundation is that we do partner. We don't just send a check.
Yeah.
But we are there. And I see board members that are just rolling up their sleeves and are, just finding out what makes these kids tick and what the schools need and what the principals need. And it's really, after sitting on many different boards over the years, this is the one that I feel is the most rewarding.
That's impressive to walk side by side with those schools. And 29 that you're
29
partnered
schools.
with?
29.
That is so many kids in Title I schools. And to do all that and to have all these programs, it does take the almighty dollar. And so you put on some of the coolest events as
We
an
do.
event coordinator.
We do.
Golf tournaments that are just so much fun.
So much fun.
Done that for a long time. How many have you done for the golf tournaments alone?
Well, this is our 10th annual. 10th annual Love You Man golf tournament.
Love You Man.
It's going to be held at the Old Mill Golf Course, so
Good.
not shabby digs.
And so many great, some of the old footballers that you worked with and you coach,
yeah.
they fly in for this
They do.
specifically because it's such a great event.
It's like a reunion weekend for them,
Yeah.
And we also tie in a big social event that night after the golf tournament. So, we use it to build the relationships, to build the funds, to, support these. It's just like a big cycle that we're going through. And we have a lot of, I think the word is getting out. We're getting a lot of applications.
Good.
And so we know that there are more schools and more needs, which means that we need to have more funds to,
Yeah.
to take care of them.
That's right.
One of the things that I really have to add is, David, you cannot believe the generosity of our big donors.
Really?
I mean, we couldn't do this without the Eccles Foundation, without Kim Gardner, without the Huntsmans, without the Millers,
The Marquardt Kimball.
Lloyd Kimball. Yesco is a big sponsor. These people, because of Mac, they do it because they know that he will make a difference. And they always say, we can write the check, but you go in and do the work. And it's, we visit the schools, but like MJ said, it's our teachers. Those teachers are, they design programs that the kids love and they know will come to them. One school has 370 kids in an after-school program.
That's unreal.
It is. It is.
That's a lot of kids.
That's a lot of kids. But Title I schools say, it's in impoverished areas and they need help.
Yeah, they certainly do. Ron, you've been a coach, you've been a mentor most of your life. How has that background shaped and approached this kind of work that you're doing now with kids for after-school programs?
Well, I think it all started in what was that? I'm just trying to think back when I was in college, actually. And then I had a kid that was homeless, and he kind of adopted me and my roommates at that time, right?
Yeah.
And I used to take him to school. I used to pick him up with my bike, right? And I'd ride him to school.
Yeah.
And then usually I would pick him up and keep him. And neither parent was responsible. He was just a street kid.
Yeah.
And so we would feed him and take care of me and my college roommates. And he was like part of our family, from that time when he was maybe 11 or 12 years old, and that first kid. And then when I was at Gavilan Junior College, I ran the swimming pools, right? And so I sent a bus downtown and picked up all the kids. to come to the pool.
This is while you're a student yourself. This is
Well, I was coaching at Gavilan Junior College. And
the junior college. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we would pick them up, we'd bring them up, and we'd do anything from teaching them how to swim to just let them hang out to keep them. Then at 5 o'clock, we'd put them on the yellow bus and send them back home. We really had an after-school program for the kids that didn't have any place to go during.
You created the program. You created the activities.
Yeah, and then we had a soccer group that I coached between, and it was all Hispanic and minority players, and people used to come across the tracks to watch these kids play. These 200 people that came across the tracks to watch the soccer game every day in PE, because we had blocks of PE, 2-hour blocks.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then when I was at UC Riverside, we created a summer program there for minority kids. And we would take them to the beach. We would take them here. Put them on the bus, take them someplace. And so it all started really a long time ago.
That's cool. Some people may think that sports and education are two separate worlds, but they really do collide together.
Absolutely. Because you can, like, with a football player, for instance, okay, I have the game that you love to play.
Yeah.
But you can't play this game unless you become academically solvent. So unless you do this and this and this, well then, and what I've seen as parents with their kids, they're different than what their parents were, because they're very demanding on education and very structured now, and these guys were just out there, to begin with. And then I would press this education thing with them and their future and the fact that you have no future without an education.
That's right.
Because the more education that you get, the better decisions you're going to make in your life about what you need to do.
You've seen that firsthand yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Looking back at your football career, is there a moment or is there a lesson from that time that directly influences how you lead this foundation today?
Well, I think, yeah. So when I first came to Utah as the head coach, we had a
1990, right?
Yeah, we had a prop program where you could get kids in a school that were non-qualifiers, and they had to sit for a year.
Okay.
And so I brought in probably 10 prop kids that were already really good football players. And all 10 of those kids had graduated from college and have great jobs. And so through the prop program, I saw, what amazing, if you paid attention to them and you made them be structured and you forced them to do stuff that they didn't want to do. And, I'm not saying that every day was successful, because in some cases you'd have to, if a kid wasn't doing what you want, you call their parents and then they would send somebody from the family out to babysit them.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I know one case was I had a kid wasn't going to class, and a kid from Northern California. I called his grandmother, and I said, "Hey, dude doesn't want to go to school." He said, "No matter what I do, he's going to do the opposite." She said, so she made his brother quit his job and moved to Utah. And she said, "I'm sending somebody up to make him go to school every day."
Huh.
And so then the kid, I just said, "Okay, Coach, I got it. Can you send my brother home?" I said, "No, not until you got your degree." I said, if 2 years from now, maybe he can go home.
Yeah.
And then we had another kid with Hawaii, and he was messing up. And I called the dad. He sent the mom out. And so the mom came.
Okay.
And she lived with the two boys. And they would come to my office every day. "When are you sending mom home?" And I said, "Probably not till a year from now or more."
Let's get you graduated.
Yeah, once you get done what you're supposed to get done. So
I love how much you care.
Yeah.
You see that need, and then you get involved. You get hands-on. You just pick up the phone. You make it happen. And then you engage others, just like MJ, just like Joanne, and all your whole team, your board, and all the volunteers.
Well, the board is unbelievable because all they want to do is give.
Yeah.
And, what can I do today? And they all handle, like you give them a responsibility, and you don't have to worry about it. Yeah. And they just take care of business. And a lot of the people on the board is where their husbands will say, "Oh, yeah, my wife just retired from her job." I said, "Well, what's she doing?" "Nothing. You need to get her."
Okay. Let's get him involved.
As they retire, I said, "I know you're bored, right?" I said, "I got something for you to do."
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah, so
that's awesome, man.
So they're great.
You put the fun in fundraising.
Yeah,
so many things. In fact, you have twice you've done it now, concerts where you raise a ton of money. You just had Ella Langley who came out and did a concert at the complex. Thousands of people came out for it, and so many fun ways to get involved in this program. Tell us about, as the event coordinator, some of your ideas for the future. What's the next phase for the Ron McBride Foundation?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I think just having Coach on board, every other week there is somebody is calling him out. Either he's getting an award, he's just getting celebrated, they want him to participate in, some special football game. So it is never a dull moment. We do highlight this benefit concert has been a really tremendous gift. Just a blessing to this organization, because we've gotten the word, we had nearly 4,000 people at that concert.
Awesome.
And
that's so cool.
That's a lot of people who can learn about our mission and what we're doing and, spread that good news. If nothing else, it is just a great social event where people just can have a good time, feel good. And, we're so pleased with even the artists that participate, because they give a little bit back too. Yeah. And that is it just all helps the cause. So we have fun planning the concert, and that is really a year-long effort. None of us were concert promoters before, so we can add that to our resumes. And weren't even seeking that.
You do what you got to do for the cause, the greater good.
That's right. When you get the opportunity and it's knocking, you take it.
Yeah.
And the golf tournament almost runs itself, except that there's a lot of working pieces when you have 140 people out on a golf course at the same time. And then we do some other little community things during the year. We did an Ultimate Sports Bash last year, where it's just a matter of having a presence. And if we want people to support us, we need to support them in some of their efforts too. So it means long days for Coach. You mentioned that he calls you, every few weeks. This guy is always on the phone.
He's on the go.
He's always answering when somebody calls, and he's always just checking in to make sure that people are doing well. And I think it's that goodwill that just has created such loyalty to what we're doing.
Yeah.
And it makes the job of planning an event really just rewarding and fun and all overwhelming at the same time, because there's just so much support. And how do you channel it? What do you do with it?
To create that culture, it does start at the top, and you work hand in hand, one-on-one with people, and with Joanne coming on board. Coach McBride brings such a legacy of leadership. How has it been working with Coach in creating these programs for these kids?
It's fun every single day. David,
never a dull. He knows.
Boy, oh boy!
Never a dull
Every
moment
day,
with
all
Coach
day.
The only thing that I this is not a complaint, Coach, but the one thing that I'll have to say is if you're going to go to a school, or if you're going to drop in at Weber State football or Ute football, and you think it's just going to be a quick 10-minute in, 10-minute out, plan for a couple hours.
Pack a lunch.
Because he never leaves a place with saying hello to everybody, to every single person, and asking them how they're doing, how their day was. I said, "Do you know that guy?" "No, I've never met him." It's like we went into this one school, and this girl's hair was, and I was trying not to be a mother and saying, I don't know that you should have your hair that color. And Coach went up, and her hair was bright green, and he went up, and I went, I really like your hair, and he meant it, and he really
he notices people.
Oh yeah, one of the greatest benefits that we've had, David, is getting to know you. I mean, you have been such a wonderful supporter of this organization and brought so much joy and so much spirit into it that I've got to thank you for that.
I'm honored. Thank you for that. Where much is given, much is required, and I love seeing people who walk the walk and they talk the talk, and you're the real McCoy, Coach.
Yeah. Yes,
and you bring the same people around that see that and want to be just like that. And so there's a lot of good here. I'm honored to be just among the ranks.
See, Coach and I worked together on his, I was working at the Salt Lake Tribune, and he came up to me and he said, hey, why don't you write my biography? And I went, Coach, I know nothing about football. Absolutely nothing. He said, it is about football. It's about people.
Yeah.
And so we worked for about a year on I'd go up to his office a couple of times a week or more, probably a lot more. I used to go into a lot more. Anyway, I'd go up to his office, and we'd work on this book. And we'll relive those stories and laugh. And I'll tell you, he has an incredible memory. He remembers
amazing. I know.
Everything. And so we laugh a lot while we're hopefully doing some really good things for kids.
As we wrap up our conversation, for each of you, just a quick answer. What would you say is the biggest win that the Ron McBride Foundation has had? We'll start with you, Coach.
The biggest win, I think, are the people, obviously. The principals, the teachers, and the students. Yeah. I think that's the biggest win, because the principals are the key. If they're on board and excited about their students, it transfers over to the students. And if they're excited about the after-school program, the principals design the program, and they're the whole key to it. The leadership at the school is paramount. And if the principal is excited, everybody else will be excited. And that is the key. The leadership at the schools is key.
That's awesome. You're absolutely right. And MJ, what do you think the biggest win is?
I would echo all of that. So in the spirit of finding a different answer, I would say from a board member or staff member or administration standpoint, I think the fact that if you look at fundraising and volunteering, there has to be a selfish element. There has to be something that is a feel-good for you, that is a reward for what you're doing, so that it's coming back and it keeps you contributing. And I would say 100% of the people that I ever come in contact with representing this organization or trying to get them to associate with us, there is such a feel-good that you just can't deny it. You just can't deny it. So I think that is the overall win, because, the kids feel good. They are maintaining their curiosity and their competitiveness and their confidence. And the teachers and the principals and the people who are facilitating these programs, they are immensely grateful, and they feel so good. And then we, as, Coach's team, feel completely fulfilled. So I mean, isn't that a good win? It seems
Huge.
To me that it is just, you go to bed at night and you just feel so thankful that you had this opportunity, and then you wake up in the morning and you're just excited to go and try to make another contribution.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. And wrap up on Joanne, your biggest win, and as you're doing that as well, people that are listening right now who want to support the foundation, whether that's with time or with resources or just even spreading the word, what's the best way that they can help? What do you think?
If they will just email the Ron McBride Foundation at gmail.com, and we get back to them within minutes and tell us how they would like to help. We'll give them a job.
The Ron McBride Foundation
At gmail.com. The biggest win for me, David, is to see a youngster who for the first time has felt seen, has felt valued, and felt loved. And that's what Ron McBride does. And he's taught us that every single child deserves a chance for success.
Well, you've created something incredible here, Coach Mac.
And we're still working on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always, I have a slogan, forward march, so we're always, and I tell you what, we have our little group that we meet once or twice a week, and I tell you what, the girls, the ladies, they always say, Coach, don't forget, we're meeting at this time, and they make sure that I'm on board. Like I know that this morning, Joanne usually tells me what to dress, but I didn't dress appropriately. So,
you look great and comfortable, and you've earned your stripes.
So she's looking at me as I'm going out the door. She's saying, "How come you dress like a dog?"
That's not true.
And then
you've earned the right to wear sweats anytime you want.
Well, so over this, we had a wedding over the weekend, and they made me wear a tie, and I'm thinking, I'm not wearing a tie. Yes, you are. So then we get to arguing about what I was going to wear. And then Vicki always says, you can't look like you always look kind of stupid.
I love your wife. She's amazing.
Well,
she's a firecracker, isn't she?
She's a trip, yeah.
She keeps you in line. And you guys are a perfect pair. You're just peas in a pod. I'm so honored you would be here, Joanne, MJ. Coach Mac, it's been an absolute thrill to chat with you. Congratulations on all the success of the Ron McBride Foundation.
I appreciate you, David.
And going forward for all these kids, they desperately need you. And so on behalf of all those kids, thank you for what you've done.
Thank you, David.
And we need to continue to grow and continue to address the problems.
Keep marching forward.
Yeah, keep marching
forward. March. Yep.
Forward march, yeah. So no matter what you do, you can do more, you know. And so, and fortunately for myself, I have a bunch of motivated people.
Yes, you do.
And they keep me, I tell you what, they don't let me, hey, Coach, you need to do this or you need to do this. It's like, okay, what time?
Full circle. You have coached them, and now they're coaching you. Everyone keeps each other in check.
Write this down because that's where you're supposed to be, and so will pick you up at this time. And yeah, it's kind of like
it's a fun group to be a part of and to march forward with. And thank you again for all you do. We're honored to be in the trenches. You are the man. You really are. Thank you for who you are.
Well, I tell you what, I got a lot more to do. Where my life is going. That's what it's all about.
You'll never quit. You'll keep going.
Yeah.
And thank you for that inspiration for so many. And thanks for joining us on Fresh Off the Set. Coach Mac, MJ, Joanne. The Ron McBride Foundation, go Google it, search it, do anything you can to get involved. It is a great group to be a part of, and we appreciate you spending the time today with us on this
so
podcast.
Much, David.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, Coach Mac.
All right. Hey, yo, David.
Let's go. Onward and upward.
Congrats, you made it to the end. If you want to continue to freshen up your day, you can watch us on Fresh Living every weekday on CBS Channel 2 in Utah at 1 o'clock. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel, KUTV Fresh Living, and follow us on social media. We will see you next week.